PD 532, the Anti-Piracy and Highway Robbery of 1974. This is an old law, but then it is still significant. Now, you have there the definition for Philippine waters. Why is this important? Because if we compare it in the piracy as provided under the RPC, it is referring only to the high seas. And with PD 532, piracy can be committed in Philippine waters. So if you notice, the definition here for Philippine waters is the same as that you can found in the Philippine Constitution. So in the Philippine Archipelago, in the territory definition, so it refers to all bodies of water, such as but not limited to seas, gulf, bays, around, between, and connecting each of the islands of the Philippine Archipelago, irrespective of its depth, breadth, length, or dimension, and all other waters belonging to the Philippines by historic or legal title, including territorial sea, the seabed, the insular shelves, and other submarine areas over which the Philippines have sovereignty or jurisdiction. Basically, the purpose of highlighting on what Philippine water means is on the enforceability of PD 532. Remember on the territorial characteristics of criminal law, that it is enforceable only within the Philippine territory, hence the definition for Philippine waters. Definition of vessel is likewise important because if the subject of the taking is not the vessel contemplated under PD 532, then you cannot sue that person under PD 532. So what is the vessel contemplated under PD 532? Any vessel or watercraft used for transport of passengers and cargo from one place to another through Philippine waters. It shall include all kinds and types of vessels or boats used in fishing. So you have the, what else? Pump boat. So what else can you think as an example so that you can apply vessel? A jet ski probably. Yacht, yes.
Vintas.
Vintas, ibalangay or barangay, the old one that is used by our forefathers. So those are included because it says here, used to transport passengers and cargo from one place to another. You are raising your hand, Attorney Divina Gracia.
Yes, Judge. Sorry to interrupt. I was just confused. Part A with which is the Philippine waters. I guess it is. If I'm not mistaken, it's in reference to the Philippine territory. However, there's one phrase there that siguro nakapabother na ko slide ba, which is the by historic or legal title. Understanding the history, Judge, since PD man siya, it was crafted during the Marcos administration. But however, Judge, sa current nato nga constitution, di ba the phrase by historic or legal title was removed already. So how do we how do I say this? How do we reconcile this with the current constitution, Judge?
So if it is omitted, it doesn't mean that, for example, our claim like the West Philippine Sea, we may say it's true historic, but now it's no more historic. So mura lang siya og na-upgrade, di ba? Those old definition under historic title, under the law, we have now that legal title over those. So you don't need to be bothered by the phrase historic or legal title.
Okay, Judge. Noted. Thank you.
Okay. So what is piracy? Any attack upon or seizure of any vessel, or taking away of the whole or part thereof, or its cargo, equipment, or the personal belongings of each complement or passenger, irrespective of the value thereof. So take note, there is the attack of the vessel, that is one act. There could be taking of the vessel or part thereof only, or taking of equipment, cargo, or personal belonging, irrespective of ownership. And how is the taking done? By means of violence against or intimidation of persons or force upon things. In other words, this is the same as that for robbery, okay? Forcible taking. Who can be made liable or who are the offenders? Committed by any person, including a passenger or member of the complement of said vessel, where the same is committed in Philippine waters, shall be considered as piracy under PD 532. The offender shall be considered as pirates and punished as hereinafter provided. So here are the penalties. Reclusion temporal in its medium and maximum periods. I think this is one of the disqualification under ISL. Is it ISL? Yes, I think ISL. So despite the fact that it is only reclusion temporal, but piracy is one of the enumeration wherein ISL shall not be made applicable. If physical injuries or other crimes are committed as a result or on occasion thereof, the penalty shall be reclusion perpetua. If rape, murder, or homicide is committed as a result or on occasion of piracy, or when the offenders abandon the victims without means of saving themselves, or when the seizure is accomplished by firing upon or boarding the vessel, the mandatory penalty of death shall be imposed. So you know that we have the suspension for the imposition of the death penalty. The enumeration under the last paragraph actually qualifies piracy, wherein the maximum penalty shall be imposed upon the offenders. Aiding pirates or highway robbers or brigands or abetting piracy or highway I forgot. I think there is lacking in the slides. Take note, this is anti-piracy and highway robbery. I hope I had a slides. Let's see. Okay. So the PD 532 or the anti-highway robbery, the robbery there is done in the highway, and it must be an indiscriminate robbery. Okay, indiscriminate, meaning to say, it is committed in the highway against anyone, not predetermined. And the purpose of the accused there is really to rob in the highways, hence highway robbery. Any person who knowingly or in any manner aids or protects pirates or highway robbers or brigands, or brigandage, that is synonymously used, such as giving them information about the movement of the police or other peace officers of the government, or acquires or receives property taken by such pirates or brigands, or in any manner derives any benefit therefrom. So if you notice, this is an act of an accessory. Or any person who directly or indirectly abets the commission of piracy or highway robbery or brigandage shall be considered as an accomplice, while their act may be considered as an act of an accessory under the RPC, but under PD 532, they are considered to be an accomplice. Okay, they are accomplice, not as an accessory. So what would be the penalty being the accomplice? 1 degree lower as that of the principal. It shall be presumed that any person who does any of the acts provided shall perform them knowingly. Okay, presumption of knowledge. It is incumbent upon the accused to prove otherwise. In PD 532, the pirates include the crew members or passengers. Take note, in 532, crew members or passengers, if you are having piracy under the RPC, these crew members and passengers cannot be made liable for piracy, but for mutiny. But in 532, they can be made liable for piracy under 532. Because in RPC, the offender there must be a stranger to the vessel. But here in 532, anyone, including crew members and passengers. The vessel includes all kinds and types of vessels or boats used in fishing, such as bangka or raft. Hence, when robbery is committed in a bangka or raft in Philippine waters, it is piracy. Situs or place of commission, Philippine waters. Because in the RPC, it shall include high seas. Abettors, they are accomplices, they are not just mere accessory. So here are the further distinction between Article 122 of the RPC from PD 532. So In RPC, any person in case of attack or on seizure of the vessel, not crew members or passengers, and in case of seizure or haul or repart, equipment or personal belongings. So that is under RPC. But in 532, it includes crew members and passengers. So to reiterate, one common denominator, any person. But in RPC, not crew members or passengers, they are excluded. But in 532, they are included. Situs or place of commission. In RPC, Philippine waters and high seas, while in 532, Philippine waters only. As to abettors, in RPC, they are considered to be accessories. In 532, they are accomplices. So how is piracy committed, especially if qualifying circumstances are present? So under the RPC, piracy there is qualified by seizing a vessel by boarding or firing upon it. In 532, the same, common, firing, seizing by firing, or boarding a vessel. In RPC, abandoning victims without means of saving would be qualifying. Same with 532. The remedyo sa number 3, accompanied by murder, homicide, physical injuries, or rape. And here, what it says here, it's not limited to murder, homicide, physical injuries, or rape because in 532, it includes other crimes as a result or on the occasion of piracy. Now, by the way, I think it was asked in the mock bar, let us say that A and B are passengers of the same vessel or the same boat. Let's say going to Mindanao or going to Manila, for example. A took the rest watch of B. Could A be made liable for piracy? Would that be piracy? Now, take note, the facts of the problem did not say any force, violence, or intimidation. So it's clear, it could only be theft, but not piracy. But what if there was struggle between A and B? Would now it be sort of piracy because of the force or intimidation between A and B? Will you consider it as piracy? I think still it falls short to make him liable under 532. Of course, there is no vessel. How about personal belonging? Because it says their personal belonging. So how would you analyze it? Would it now be considered as piracy? Because in 532, it says there, any person, including crew members or passenger. And you have there, or the personal belongings of each complement or passengers, irrespective of the value, by means of violence against or intimidation of person or force upon things. Would you consider a pirate? If you are confronted with that kind of question, take note of the elements. In piracy under PD 532, it's any attack upon or seizure of any vessel, taking away the whole or part of its cargo, equipment, or the personal belongings. Highlight personal belongings of its past complement or passenger. Highlight passenger based on the problem that we are confronted to. Irrespective of the value by means of violence against, di ba, na ay struggle between the two of them, you highlight it. It is committed in Philippine waters. I think the examiner will be convinced that indeed you understand what you are answering because the elements are there. Okay, the elements are there. Okay, so other possible questions on piracy, you have the definition for piracy under 532. Make sure you can distinguish it under RPC. Because usually, you will be given a problem. And then the question would be, what crime was committed? So meaning to say, you must know the elements of the crime so that you can distinguish piracy under RPC and piracy under PD 532. Okay, I have given you the distinction so that you will know the elements of each of the crime so that you can identify correctly what was the crime committed by the person. And then what constitutes piracy? I would suggest you would make a bullet form on your notes as far as any other laws for that matter. You can have it bullet, make your own notes. If you make your own notes, it's actually easy to remember. In fact, if you will recall, you can even recall what color of the pen that you use in making the notes. This would be your visual aids in studying and recall there is much higher than just mere reading. And then vessel involved. Take note on what vessel involved and then on the jurisdiction. So CITOS in 532, limited in Philippine waters. Okay, so that's all for PD 532. Those are the most important portions there.